So we're going to do a little tour, and then later we'll go out there. It's kind of windy today, but we'll do our best. Hey guys, welcome. We are here at the Noah's Ark Visitor Center that was built in 1987 by the Turkish government. This site overlooks the nuh'un site that we believe is Noah's Ark. It's the Drupanar Noah's Ark site found by Captain Drupanar in 1959. Now this building has been renovated a couple times, but they recently announced in the news, I think it was about a year and a half ago, that they're going to replace this building with a brand new facility that will look like Noah's Ark. Have a low profile and look like a boat shape. And so we're very excited based on what we've seen in the news and talking to those involved. So we're going to do a little tour, and then later we'll go out there. It's kind of windy today, but we'll do our best. But right now I'm going to show you what we have here. We'll miss this place, even though it will be replaced with a new museum. I still want to show you guys what's in it. And so yeah, let's do the tour. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice when you come into the building, so it's an octagon-shaped circular building. In the middle, we have these displays here. And so we just added this. It was almost 2 years ago we put these in. And it gives the tourist an idea of what this whole place is about. Kind of gives a visual representation of the Ark history and the research. You know, we have tourists come from around the world, from China, obviously America. We have Europeans and Russians, and from India and Korea. We meet all nationalities out here, and so we can't always put every single caption in each language. So we have it in Turkish and English, but very visual display. The first thing you'll see here is we misspelled the Captain Ilhan Drupanar's name, sadly. But this is the guy who found the site. He was an army captain working as a cartographer for the Turkish military, and he was looking down at the maps, drawing out the maps for this area of eastern Turkey. And so as he was looking at these images, he spotted this boat formation. And this is actually the photograph that he saw where he discovered the boat shape in it. And it popped out right at him. You know, he's looking down on his table there at his job, and he sees this shape. Now, there's no other shape like this. The critics will always say stuff like, oh, there's many of these all over the place. There's not. When the Turkish military were mapping this area, they didn't say, oh, there's a whole fleet of boats out there, let's go check them out. No, they only saw the one, and it's a perfect boat shape. The other ones, number one, they don't look like a boat, and number two, they're not even the size that's in the Bible. But anyways, we're getting off topic. So this is the shape that Captain Drupanar saw, and that was September 11, 1959. And a week later, they finally put it in the news. No photographs, but they had the news alert that kind of got everyone excited about it. And then it was October 1959 when this photograph was published. And this is a part of that photo, or this is from the magazine, Hayat magazine, the Turkish magazine, that had this photograph in it. And they circled it, and it said, nuh'un with the question mark, like, is this Noah's Ark? And that was the first photograph of this site that was published about a month after he had discovered it. So here we have another one of these older photographs, black and white, but this one was actually taken in 1961, I believe, by Ara Güler. Now, he was a famous Turkish photographer back then, and he was hired by the Turkish military to take low-altitude photographs of this site to see what it looked like closer, but you know, again, from the air. No drones back then, so they did this from a little plane. Now, this one was high altitude. The one that they took in 1959 and they discovered, this one was a low plane flying over the site. And he took a whole bunch of photographs, Ara Güler, and this is one of them. And so, again, it got people excited because it looks just like a ship. And so what else could it be but Noah's Ark? And so more people came out here to investigate it. Let's head over here, and we're going to look at this other side. So we went from black and white to color with some, actually there's one black and white photograph right there. And so this here is basically kind of a very brief overview of why this matches the biblical account of being Noah's Ark. So number one, the display we have up here shows a map of Urartu. Now, everyone talks about Ararat or Mount Ararat, and Ararat comes from the word Urartu, which was a kingdom based in this area, and it was a very mountainous region in Turkey and parts of Iran and Armenia. And so this kingdom of Ur too is where we get the English word Ararat. And so the Bible says the ark landed in the mountains of Ararat, or the mountains of Ur too. And so this is kind of the area we're at right now, this kind of a red star, this red star. And the capital of Ur too was down here on Lake Von. And this was the area that the Bible says the ark landed. Now, some people, they talk about, well, maybe the ark is in Iran, and I have heard wild ideas that it's in America or Africa or Mount Everest. I mean, crazy stuff. But the Bible has it narrowed down to the kingdom of Ur too. And so if you're going to say it's in Iran and you're going to try to fit the ark site in a place like that, you need to make sure it's still within the territory of Ur too. And so that's one thing we want to mention. And this site fits. It's right in the smack middle of this ancient kingdom. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out is it's a boat shape. Now, again, this is another controversy. Some people say, oh, it has to be a rectangular barge. Well, we have a strange shape here. We have a perfect boat shape, and we have crazy people who, I'm sorry if you're one of them, who say that's the Nephilim Ark, and that's not even a biblical thing. So there's only one Noah's Ark, and there's no water around here. There's no lake, so this has to be the boat. There's no other place where the ark could have been, and there's no ancient lake around here. You do find fossils, but so anyways, it's a boat shape. Now, in regards to the barge shape, you know, while I disagree with Answers in Genesis, they have a really good video that talks about the shape of Noah's Ark and how it has to be a boat. Just because it's a pointed end does not mean that it's being propelled to go to a place. The pointed end actually helps a boat cut through the waves that are coming in on it. There's a great video. We have it linked on our website, noahsarkscans.com, and also in the bottom of this the description of this YouTube video, we'll put the link. So the boat shape, you know, the Bible is very general in the description. It doesn't give us every little detail of Noah's Ark, but it just gives us probably the capacity, and it doesn't tell us the shape. So we believe that the word ark is more about the purpose of the boat, to hold the animals and Noah and his family, and not anything else, not about it being a barge in open seas with a big storm, a global storm, that would destroy the boat. Okay, so we're still looking at this display, folks. The middle picture is one of our drone photos of nuh'un, Noah's Ark, at the sunset. I really like this photograph. But the other point I want to mention, and this is very important, is that this boat shape is actually the biblical length of Noah's Ark, 300 Royal Egyptian cubits. Now you might say, why do you mention the Royal Egyptian cubit? Well, there were different cubits back then in the Old Testament, in the Bible times, but you know, the book of Acts mentions Moses being educated in ancient Egypt. You know, he was a prince of Egypt, and during that time, just like the metric system today is basically worldwide in its usage, back in those days, the ancient Royal Egyptian cubit was the main standard of measurement according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. And so based on using that cubit, we get 300 of them to equal 515 feet. And that's exactly what we have here. Regards to the width, and so again, we're talking about an ancient boat. So there's possibilities of it splaying out, decaying, just like you see at other archaeological sites involving ancient ships that are either buried in the silt or has decayed on land or in the water. The timber fall out display, so it is a little wider in the middle. And then the height, obviously, we're looking at a boat that's covered with mud. We're looking at the surface here. So based on the different types of geophysical scans done at the site, we are seeing layers below the ground. And so it's possible that the height that mentioned in the Bible equals the total heights of the decks. And there are 3 decks according to the book of Genesis. And so anyways, just alone, we have a boat shape in the mountains of Ararat that's 300 Egyptian cubits long. That should get people excited about the site. Now, in regards to possible artifacts that have been found here, now if this is the oldest man-made object, based on the time frame of the flood, this would be before the pottery era. So you wouldn't find pottery laying around the ark unless it was someone after the ark in this area. And in fact, the Turks did announce last fall that they found some of the oldest pottery for this area of Turkey in the hills around the boat shape. So that was very exciting, and that's why they're doing their research here. But I want to point out one artifact here that Ron Wyatt and his tour group found, and I believe it was 91 or 92. And what it is a fossilized washer or rivet looking rock. It's fossiled, so it's a rock. But it's not just a rock. From test results, they know that it's two distinct objects based on the carbon content from here to here. And they also know that there's 2 times much iron on this front side, where you think is a metal object, versus on the back side. So again, it's just showing that there's 2 objects here that's been fossilized. And you see these kind of round shapes decaying in the mud on some of the edges. So it's not just one unique one. But this one was almost a perfectly preserved one that they found at the upper southwestern corner back in 91 or 92. His tour group saw that. And so that's one of the things we want to point out. There's also, we don't have a photograph on this display. We didn't have space. But Ron found what he believed was a fossilized deck timber. And that was found about less than 2 feet below the surface up in this area. So this is the northern or downhill end of the boat. And that was uncovered by the Turkish soldier when Ron was demonstrating the radar when they were dedicating the building of this place that we're in. So that was 1987. And they dug it up and they gave the timber to Ron, and he took it back to America to test. And so he believed that this site would still have much more fossilized wood below the surface there. Now, an excavation would show that, and so we hope someday that can be done, or some type of core drilling that could show what's below the surface of the boat shape. So let's continue on to the next display, our final one, and then we'll give you a tour of the rest of the building. Now, this is a wooden panel building, and they did this renovation with the wood in place in 2017. Before that, it was just cement and kind of painted an awful color. But now it's kind of like you're inside the boat. I like the wood look with the wood floors. Anyways, so the next piece of evidence that we put in this middle display is the geophysical scans. Now, these are very important because this type of technology lets you peer below the surface. And they use 3 or 4 different types of geophysical technologies, and we'll talk about them. But so the very first ground-penetrating radar used in Turkey was done at this site. And this was back in 1984, 85, I believe. I think it was 85. So here is one of the scans done, one of the earliest or first scans done by Ron Wyatt and David Fasold. And this was done about 75 feet from the pointed uphill end, the southern end. And this was, an older device. I think this was a 500 megahertz antenna, meaning it gives you high resolution, but doesn't penetrate as deep. But they were able to pull out this very exciting data that was even shown in the United States on television. And the vice president of the manufacturer for this radar, he pointed out on TV that these reflections, these patterns you see there, are too periodic, meaning it's not something just randomness that you would normally expect if this was just a natural object full of rock and mud. And so anyways, this was with the 500 megahertz antenna, and it was analog machine, so it was printed out on paper back then. Now, fast forward to 2019, we were able to bring out an independent group that was able to scan the boat with 250 megahertz and a 100 megahertz antenna. The whole ship was scanned with these 2 antennas, and then we were able to scan 3 areas with the 250 megahertz antenna in a zigzag pattern to get a better idea of what's going on in those areas, kind of like a special survey. But at any rate, we scanned the whole boat. This was 2019, and it happened to be at the same time that the Science Channel was here. They had a production team wanting to film this site, and they were able to film some action. And so that was later aired on the Science Channel about the work. And the most important thing that came out of it, you'll see right here, are these angular structures found 7 meters down by the archaeologists who reviewed the data. And then these linear structures found 3 meters down, about 9 feet, on this eastern edge of this valley. And so this area and this area are really exciting to us because it's showing possible man-made structure below the ground there. And so this is the 2019 scan. Now there's also, most people know this, but if you don't, there's also ERT scans done. in 2014 by John Larson in New Zealand. And I was here with two videographers, a photographer, and a videographer, and we documented the work that was being done. And so those scans were showing that there's possible layers, 3 decks below the ground, and a possible hull-shaped object much further than we imagined, deeper in the side of the mountain. And so those are online. You can go to noahsarkscans.nz or NZ and check out his website. And so anyways, these are some of the geophysical surveys done that show there's something there. Again, you need a ground truth, you need to core drill or do an excavation. And so we're hoping that will still be done in the future. Okay, we're just going to show a couple new posters we put up. Again, the Visitor Center is going to be replaced, they say, this year, but they said that last year too. But anyways, these are some brand new drone photos. And I didn't realize the size when I printed them. We had to cut it in half. We might replace this one because we have better ones of Noah's Ark. But this was one complete photograph. You can see Arada or Mount Ararat, the lesser and greater, the 2 peaks there. And then you can see the boat-shaped Drupanar site right here. Now, over here is really cool because if you want to see fossils from this area, we have a collection done by many different people of different rock specimens and fossils. So I'm just going to point out a couple. You can see fossilized coral. And this coral, they were all found in the mud flow or above it. Above the Ark site, you will see there's a limestone ridge. And so right below that, there's a lot of fossilized coral. And then going through the mud flow, you'll see it too. And then about I don't know if it's a mile away, it's right over the ridge there to the east, you'll find a whole bed of fossilized seashells. And so we take people on tours to that area because it's really important to show that this area had water. These are not fresh water, these are shallow water animals, these seashells. There's even sand dollars over there. I don't think we have, actually we do have pieces of a sand dollar. These are like the section of it, I forget what you call it, when it's cut in half, but you're seeing the sand dollar this way. I don't see, here's a piece right here. Well, there's one right here. This is part of the outside. So in the United States, we call them sand dollars. I don't know what the scientific name is for this creature, but they have like a pattern, and when they're dead, you see they look like they're sandy. Here's another piece of it here. We call them sand dollars in the United States. But you can see a lot of seashells. So like here's a good one that has, look at all these shells. And as you look really close, you'll notice that we have some really good specimens showing that, but that the shells are not fossilized. And so that's really cool. That's one thing about these shells, that some of them, you actually can see the shell still in it. So if it's millions of years old, we're wondering how did they not get fossilized. Just a couple little things here. If you do come before they build the new building, we have a guest book. This is our second one we bought that's filling up. We have people from around the world. Now, right now, because it's wintertime, we have a lot of Turks who are tourists coming out here versus foreign tourists. But we have a couple of books. We'll have some new ones on display soon, but here are some other ones by Jem Serdersen and Dr. Farouk Kaya, who's our good friend from the university. And then we have our flyers. You want to learn more, you can go to noahsarkscans.com. And so, yeah, we have some scientific papers you can read. These are actually on our website. You can download it from there. Okay, this is our final area. Then we're going to give you a brief overview of everything around the property here. But I just want to point out these photographs that are on the side of this wall. And they're very important ones because these are historical photos showing mainly Captain Drupanar, who discovered the site. Now, he discovered it, but no one took it serious. And it was Ron Wyatt's hard work in the 1980s and 90s who really brought the site to the world's attention. So, he gets the credit for finding the site. Ron gets the credit for promoting it around the world and for all his hard work. So you can call them, both of them, as discoverers of Noah's Ark. Anyways, this is, you can see the close-up of the boat formation. This is that 1959 high-altitude photograph that Captain Drupanar discovered on September 11, 1959. And we're going to go over here. This is from the Hyatt magazine. We have some tourists here, so You can hear them in the background. But this is the, this is the 1960 Hyatt magazine. So they did 2 articles about the site. One when the American expedition came, and then in the 1959, the first article about it. So we have copies of these magazines. We bought them in Turkey. People still have them, and they're selling them. So we buy, as soon as we see them online, we buy these historical magazines. Now that 1960 trip, we have a couple color photographs from the group that was there, the American-Turkish group, and Captain Durapanar was there. And so that 1960 trip, you can see how the site has changed based on this photograph compared to what you see today out there. Because back then, the soil was up to the edge of the boat, and now everything is dropped away. And that's because of the different seismic activity, the earthquakes here, and it has dropped the soil away but left the boat shape still there. And that hasn't changed in all these years. The boat has always been there in the same shape. There's some decaying going around the edges, but the boat size and shape has always been the same. But the mud flow all the way around it has constantly changed. So something's keeping the shape together. We believe it's the buried remains of Noah's Ark. And then I just want to mention this photograph of Ron Wyatt. This, I believe, was 1984. And so, really interesting side story. The guy, Ron marked up the photograph, and he even wrote something on the back. And he gave this to Dr. Bill Shea. And Bill, when he retired from his job at the Biblical Research Institute, he gave me all of his Ron Wyatt material that he had in a folder. And this photograph was in it. And so we got it scanned, and so I have a really good digital copy of this. But at any rate, this shows Ron. He's standing on that eastern hill overlooking the boat site. So he says, to the boat. The boat's over here. And he's pointing where he believed the original landing site of Noah's Ark is, up the valley about a mile away is the Iranian border. And so that's where this arrow is on the photograph. And then he says, source of lava. He believed a volcano erupted, and the lava brought down the boat to where it's at now. So this is a really cool photograph of Ron Wyatt from 1984, I believe. And then we have I think this is 61 actually, the photograph of our Guler, the 1959 Hyatt magazine that actually circled the boat shape there, the very first published photograph, the high altitude photographs. And then we have some drone photographs here. But now we're going to just give you a tour going outside, and then we'll end it there. It's kind of windy today, but it kind of gives you an idea of what this building's been here since 1987. So it has seen a lot of tourists, and it had a lot of usage all these years. And so we're very excited, though, about the new building that will come. When you're finished, excuse me. Okay, guys, follow me outside. We're going to see what it looks like here on this hill and show you the Ark site. Very exciting. Let's go over here to this point. It's kind of like a little vista point. Now, it's very windy today, but this was the hill that they put the visitor center on because it gives you a really good view of nuh'un. So follow me. I can't talk in this wind, but we end up getting thunderstorms and have a rainbow afterwards. So it's kind of cool seeing the rainbow at the place where the Ark landed, which we believe is here. Anyways, you can still see that there's snow on the ground, and this is middle of March, so it's still cold. Now, I remember from Ron's material that in the middle of March 1985, Ron was here with a Saudi businessman or a prince, and he brought David Fazal out here for the first time too. And then from here they went to Saudi Arabia. That's really cool because right after this, in a couple weeks, we'll be going to Egypt and Arabia. And so, anyways, that was Ron's second trip to Mount Sinai, which is another topic. But in regards to the Ark site, you can see the boat formation there and how it got people excited because of the shape and the length, and then because of the scans. And we are in the mountains of Ararat. Up there's the Iranian border. This is the territory Ur-2. They found fortresses down in the valley and settlements of the Ur-2 kingdom. Now, if you look over this way, you'll see Ararat, or Mount Ararat. Very beautiful day, but again, very cold here. And so we're not going to talk too much outside because we're freezing, and my camera guy has no gloves on. Anyways, look over there. That is the main valley, and to the west is Dobizet, where we stay, and if you come out here, this is where the hotels are. And then to the east, this is the Iranian border there. But there's the visitor center. So we're here at the Noah's Ark site. Let's do it one more time. Hey friends, this is our final video. So we're here on the overlook, looking down on the Noah's Ark site, the Durupanar, nuh'un boat formations right there. Come out here this summer. We actually have brand new tours we're putting on the website finally. We had so much things to do to get ready for that, but it's going to go from Noah's Ark to Abraham, Job, and Jacob's well down in southeast Turkey, Şanlıurfa, Göbekli Tepe, Nimrut Dağ. So you want to see all these sites that have to do with the patriarchs. And so please come on our tours this year. We'll give you more bang for your buck, so to speak, instead of just coming out to Noah's Ark. We're going to show you the whole thing.